There is a moment right between being asleep and being awake where your body hasn't quite caught up to your mind. You can see your room, you can hear everything around you, but you can't move. And for some people, they're not alone when that happens. Hey friends, welcome back to the Spooky Files. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. And if you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Quigley. This is where we dive into the paranormal, the unexplained, the I swear I saw something, but I don't want to admit it moments we all have and now have a place to talk about them. Today's episode is about sleep paralysis, but not just the science behind it. It's about the things people swear they saw when they were trapped inside their own bodies. Shadow figures, silhouettes standing in the corner of a room, something sitting on the edge of their bed. And the worst part is how real it feels even after it's over. These are the stories of sleep-adjacent encounters, the kind that stay with you long after you wake up. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Our first story is called The Figure in the Corner, and this story was sent to me by Emily. Emily says, "Hi, Mary Ellen. I've been going back and forth on whether or not to send this to you because even now, I don't fully understand what happened. About a year ago, I moved into a small apartment by myself. Nothing felt weird about it. It was actually one of those places that felt really normal and almost comforting. The first time this happened, I woke up in the middle of the night and immediately knew something was off. I could see my room. Everything looked exactly the same as it always did. There was light coming through the blinds that was lighting up my dresser and my door. But I couldn't move. At first, I thought maybe I was half asleep. So I tried to sit up, but I couldn't. My whole body felt heavy. And then I noticed something in the corner of my room. At first, I thought it was a pile of clothes or maybe my chair. But then it moved. Not a lot, but just enough for me to realize that it wasn't an object. It was tall and way taller than any normal person should have been, and it didn't have a face, or at least I couldn't see one. It was just darker than everything else in the room. I remembered thinking, that shouldn't be there. And then it started moving closer. But it didn't walk like people do. It didn't take steps. It just shifted like it was gliding along the floor. By this point, I was trying to scream, but nothing was coming out. I couldn't move my arms or my legs, and then it was right next to my bed. I could feel it there, even though I couldn't make out any details. And then it leaned over me. I swear to you, I could feel the air change when it did that, like the whole room got cold. And then I heard it say, "Don't move," right in my ear. And then I woke up, like actually woke up. I sat up straight and my room was completely normal again. Nothing in the corner, nothing next to my bed. But I didn't sleep the rest of the night. And for a few days after that, that corner of the room felt wrong. I don't know how else to explain it. It just felt off. I've had sleep paralysis before, but nothing like that. And I've never heard something speak before. I still think about this more than I probably should, and I'm wondering if anyone else has had an experience like this. So, sleep paralysis is often explained as your body being stuck in REM sleep, and basically your mind wakes up too early. And medically, that explains a lot. The inability to move, the pressure on your chest, even the hallucinations, that all clocks. But what people struggle to explain is why so many of those hallucinations look the same. A tall, shadowy figure with no face is actually a really common story for people who suffer from sleep paralysis. It sits right up there with the Hat Man when it comes to nighttime ghost stories. So it makes you wonder if maybe they're all connected somehow. What a terrifying experience, but thank you for sharing. Our second story is called Something Sat on the Bed, and this one came from a TikTok message from a guy, Marcus. who is a fan of the show. So thank you, Marcus, for sending over your story. And Marcus says, I've listened to a few of your episodes and I finally decided to share something that happened to me a couple of years ago. I've had sleep paralysis before, so when this started happening, I wasn't immediately freaked out. I woke up and couldn't move. That part was normal for me. Usually I just waited out. But this time felt different. The room felt like someone else was in it. I know that sounds weird, but it's that feeling you get when you know you're not alone. And then I felt the bed move, like something had sat down near my feet. It wasn't sudden either, it was slow and controlled, like a person would be sitting. And that's what made it worse. I remember trying to tell myself that it wasn't real, that it was just part of the paralysis. But then whatever it was started moving. I could feel it. It was like something crawling up the bed toward me. I could feel the mattress dip as it got closer, first near my legs, then my waist, then my chest. By the time it got there, I couldn't even breathe. Not because something was physically on me, but because all the air in the room was gone. And then I heard breathing right next to my ear. I swear it sounded like someone was just listening to me or studying me or something. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was weird. And then it just stopped. Everything stopped. I could move again, and the figure was gone. I sat up and turned the light on immediately. Nothing was there. My door was still closed, and there was no one in the room. But the bed still felt like someone had just gotten up off of it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night after that, and I've had sleep paralysis since then, but nothing like that ever happened again, and if I'm being honest, I'm really glad it didn't. The breathing would have absolutely taken me out. Like, that is just so, that's so creepy. And there's this theory that during sleep paralysis, your brain tries to make sense of being awake but dreaming. So it creates presence and something there to explain the fear. But what happens when the presence interacts with you? Touches you, moves around you, breathes in your ear? That's a little bit harder to explain away. And so I definitely think this was a real paranormal experience. Story 3 is called It Didn't Stay in the Room. And this one comes from Lauren. Lauren says, I don't know if this technically counts as sleep paralysis, but it started that way, so I thought I'd share it. The first time it happened, I was about 19. I woke up and couldn't move, and I heard of sleep paralysis before, so I kind of knew what was happening. But then I saw something in my doorway. It was just standing there. Not a person, but a person-shaped shadow. No face, no details, just a shape. I remembered thinking, well, that's kind of weird. And I kept trying to move, trying to wake myself up, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. And when I did finally fight myself out of the sleep paralysis, the figure was gone. So I brushed it off. But then it happened again. Same thing, couldn't move, same figure, same spot in the doorway. Only this time it was closer. It wasn't just in the hallway anymore. It was inside my room. That happened maybe 3 or 4 times over the next couple of months, always during sleep paralysis, always standing just inside my room. And then one night I woke up and I could move. That's not what scared me. What scared me was that the figure was still there, standing in the doorway, exactly where it had been during my sleep paralysis episodes. So I sat up and just stared at it because I didn't know what to do. And then the figure moved, stepped backward and out into the hallway, and I could actually hear the footsteps as it walked down the hall. So what did I do? I got up and followed it. Don't ask me why. That was my first instinct, was to follow it and find out where it was going. But when I got to the hallway, there was nothing there. No one else was home, and that was the last time I ever saw it. But I still think about that moment a lot because I don't know how to explain seeing it when I was fully awake. And honestly, that would be my main question too. Because usually in stories like this, the figure will disappear as soon as you snap out of the sleep paralysis. So the fact that you could still see this spirit or ghost or whatever it was when you were fully awake makes me wonder if this was just a normal ghost in the house, perhaps, that was following you around. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing at this point, but it's definitely weird that it was still there when you woke up. I'm interested to hear if anyone has any thoughts on this one because while it fits the sleep paralysis typical story, it is a little bit different. So that's a unique one. All right, our last story comes from Sarah, my name. She says, "Hi, Mary. I almost didn't send this because it happened when I was younger, and a part of me still wonders if I imagined it. But after listening to your podcast, I don't think I did. I used to get sleep paralysis a lot as a kid, probably between the ages of 10 and 14. Most of the time, it was the usual stuff. I couldn't move, felt like something was in the room, but no one was there. Just your typical sleep paralysis type stories. But there was one experience that I've never forgotten because I woke up one night and couldn't move like usual, and my room looked normal, but I could feel something near my bed, not on it, just standing next to it. And then I heard my name. Not loud, but not whispered either. It was just clear, like someone was standing right next to my bed and talking to me. I thought it was my mom at first, but the voice didn't sound like her, and I couldn't turn my head to look. It said my name again, and then it said, "I know you're awake." And then I felt something touch my arm, like someone brushing their fingers against the skin on my upper arm. I tried so hard to move, and eventually I was able to. I sat up and turned on the light, but of course, nothing was there, and everyone else in the house was asleep. I didn't tell anyone about this at the time, but now I look back and I realize how odd it was, and I had to share it with you and your listeners. Definitely creepy, especially the fact that it spoke to you, because again, most of the time these don't speak to you. So a little bit of a different sleep paralysis experience. Here's the thing. Sleep paralysis has explanations. Science can tell us what's happening in the body, but it doesn't explain why so many people see the same things, or feel the same presence, or hear something that shouldn't be there. So the question becomes, is sleep paralysis just our brain misfiring between sleep and being awake? Or is it something else entirely and something that happens to us when we are most vulnerable? So many questions that we may never have answers to. And that brings us to the end of this episode of the Spooky Files. If you enjoyed this episode, please share this with a friend, follow me on social media, leave a comment because I love hearing from all of you. If you have a story you would like me to share on the podcast, you can send an email to thespookyfilespodcast@gmail.com. I read every single email or message, and it helps to build a community of people that don't just love a spooky story, but want a safe place to talk about all of the things they don't always admit out loud. Make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. If you're looking for more paranormal content, check out my other podcast, Hoosier Myths and Legends, where my sister and I share all things spooky from the state of Indiana. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep it spooky, my friends.